All right. So maybe some of this will be new to you. Maybe some of this will be reaffirming, but managing the stress of job loss can be difficult. How many of you feel stressed about looking for a new opportunity? Samantha, we cannot get, you cannot answer I can't hear your voice, so please put your comment in the chat. So place in the chat, what's one thing that happens when you're stressed? When you're stressed, how do you know you're stressed? What's one behavior or thought or feeling that you get when you're stressed? Yeah, so half the battle is knowing what those are, right? Job hunting, almost any major change in life is an emotional roller coaster, right? You get the news, you're shocked, you have anger, you have self-doubt, then you're really sad, and then you become motivated to do stuff, and you get leads, you get interviews, you see a job posting that you really like, you take action, and then nothing happens, and you get ghosted. So how many people have experienced this roller coaster, and where are you on it? Put in the chat where you think you are on this roller coaster. Cool. All over the place. And how many think that the holidays exasperates the low points of this? Yeah. How many people are excited about going to a gathering and people asking you, oh, how's your job going? Or how's that job search going? Right? Yep. Pretty scary stuff. Yep. And you need to leave this slide knowing that all those feelings, all the trepidation is incredibly normal, right? Everybody goes through it. Everyone has ups and downs about their job search. It's the recovery, right? And this is from a book called The Job Loss Recovery Guide. And we already talked about the importance of recognizing your feelings. You know, not just saying, oh, it's funky. I don't, what specifically do you feel? And then finding a safe outlet. It might be talking to someone, it might be taking a walk, it might be reading a good book, it might be treating yourself to that cup of coffee at your favorite coffee shop that you don't go to anymore because you're saving money. And you need to forgive, right? Whatever happened at your previous opportunity, your previous job is in the past, and you can't move forward and come across positive in an interview unless you've forgiven and forgot. Well, you don't have to, you can forgive, but you don't have to forget. But you should decide a way to move on. And then you accept this is the change. This is where we are. This is what I'm doing. Um, and this is what I need to do going forward. So put in the chat, what is one thing you do to as a safe outlet for your emotions? Where do you go? How do you deal with how you're feeling in a positive way? Cool, not a great. Somebody said playing hockey, which is so Minnesota. Yep, animals are great. Pets are wonderful to have. Yep, and it's good to have people in your life to talk to. You have to be careful about chores sometimes. They can be a shiny penny and you could be doing those instead of looking for a job. Yoga's already good. Also good. Deep breathing. Yep, those are all great things. Check out the chat, people, if you don't know exactly what to do. There's a lot of great ideas out there. So the issue is you need to figure out how to bounce back. And it's just really hard. And we make that choice every day. Every day when the alarm goes off, or you wake up, or the sun fills your room, and you're getting out of bed, you have to make the choice. How am I going to feel today? Am I going to be stronger? Am I going to be more energized? Am I going to be positive? Because it really is all about your attitude. And your attitude shows up in your resume, in your cover letter, in your phone interview, in your virtual interview, all of those things, unless you're an incredibly high level poker player or a great actor or actress, you cannot diminish them not showing up on your face, in your body language, in the tone of your voice. You really need to work on staying positive. And so here are some other suggestions. All of you have put these in. The only one I didn't really see was counseling or volunteering. Sometimes helping other people getting away, stop being so myopic about your problems is a good way to work with other job clubs. I didn't see that. Ted, it might be your bandwidth. If you want to leave the session and come back, that might help. There are multiple job clubs that are sponsored by career offices everywhere. You might want to check those out. There's one that is organized through the South and North Minneapolis Career Force offices. It's every Thursday from 9 to 11. It's hybrid. So you can either come in person or you can do it virtually. And you can find that on careerforcemn.com. It's listed in the same calendar where you find job fairs. So these are all great things. And there's been a lot of research about exercise and just simply walking. It's cheap. You can even do it at malls. A lot of malls are open early for people to walk during the winter months and even the hot summer months. So you might want to check those out. I listen to the news or music or an audio book when I walk. So it's, yep, Maplewood Mall does it. Cool. So it's a great free activity other than a pair of tennis shoes and comfortable clothes. But these are some ways, and if you check out the chat, there's a lot more listed on how people have stayed positive. And I'm going in the wrong direction. Here we go. All right, so you've checked your attitude and you've decided that I'm going to forgive the past, maybe not forget it, but I'm going to move on. And I figured out ways to nurture myself, my soul, my inner being, however you define it. Now you have to have a game plan. Now you need to move forward in what you're doing. And that's sometimes easier said than done. But here are some websites. So I already mentioned careerforcemn.com. There's a work readiness assessment, there's a skill assessment, there's an interest assessment, my skills, my future, careeronestop.org and ONET. I never know how to say that. Lana, how do you say that last one?
ONET.
It is ONET. Okay. Oh, I see it now.
I didn't say onetonline.com.org, but
yeah,
ONET.
okay.
I just call it ONET for short.
Yeah, the ONET, just the O in front, always, like I want to say 1 ton line. Anyway, these are all great websites. Career One Stop and ONET Online are also good places to research wages when you're in a salary negotiation. It's a good place to find other job titles that might fit your skill set. Do your homework. You don't have to be applying for 100 jobs every week. Um, it's better to know what type of job you want, what would be a good fit. Do your homework, do some research. And it's important for multiple reasons. How many people out there are finding the job search a fun time? Say yes or no in the chat. How many of you think that this activity is fun? Someone did say sometime. All right, so none of you really think it's fun. That's even more reason to do your research, right? What are my skills? What are my interests? What is the activity that I want to be in? What kind of place do I want to be? Where are my skills best utilized? Do your research, right? Fill in your skill gaps. Maybe take a Corsica class, or you can take LinkedIn for Learning free from a lot of libraries. If you enter the site via your local library, I know Hennepin County, Ramsey County, Washington County, I don't know about some of the others, but it's worth investigating. You can take those LinkedIn learning classes for free without having premium LinkedIn. Also, do some informational interviews. Find out how you can best position yourself for another job. Don't research forever, but research in the beginning to figure out what the best moves would be. What's the best plan? And this is what the Career Force MN website looks like. Those are the assessments that I talked about. This is an old, see list of jobs in demand now during COVID. This is an old slide. We should fix that. There's a resume builder on there that's really, really good. Mock interviewing can happen at any Career Force office. Lana will send you that list. We love talking to people. So please connect with your local Career Force office. Here's my skills, my future. It's a great place to find other job titles that might be similar to what you did. And it would help you look maybe for some more interesting options than what you've been looking for. This is a skill transfer tool that you can find at Minnesota State. You can search occupations, you can find out a whole bunch of stuff on it. So now you've done your research, right? You kind of know what your interests are. You've done a deep dive into how you could maybe find a better situation, or maybe a situation that is as good as what you left. But now you have to prepare for the job hunt. And the important thing is the prepare part, right? You've assessed yourself, you've done your homework, you're filling in the gaps of your skills, and now you're going to move on, right, to do more. So you have to understand the importance of being organized and keeping really good records. We'll talk about SMART goals. We'll talk about the importance of keeping researching, and then identifying what are some of the key tools for your job search. So getting organized. Everybody has a different thought process. Everybody organizes differently. You can Google best ways to organize for my job search, and you'll get thousands and thousands of suggestions. But you have to do it so you can retrieve the information. Has anybody out there spent a good amount of time organizing, and then when they go to use the system, they can't find anything. Yes or no in the chat? Anybody organize themselves out of not being able to use the stuff? Good. A lot of you have not. Some of you have. Yeah. The bottom line is you have to do it for yourself, right? You have to balance your work search activities, and we'll talk about SMART goals, but you also have to keep good records. Most likely, and I would say 99.9% of the time when you're applying for a job, you're doing it through a portal, either like Indeed or another massive job site, or you're doing it from the company's website. They're going to ask you to establish an account with an email, a username, and a password. So you need to record all that, right? Every site will ask maybe for a different nomenclature for your password. Some will want 12 characters, some will want 6, some will want a small lower letter and a number and a symbol. You need to figure out a way to do that. Is it an Excel spreadsheet? Is it paper? Is it note cards? Is it file folders? How are you going to keep that? You need also to keep track of the website. Sometimes notifications about interviews or where you are in the process comes through the website. So you need to be able to check that. You can use a password manager, right? But you also need to, once you apply, you have access to the resume that you would use, the cover letter you used. Who was the contact? Where did you send that? Did you follow up when you hadn't heard? Did you get an interview? Did you have the interview? Did you send a thank you? There's all kinds of details that you have to have for when you apply for a job. Also, you need to have a detailed record of your work history. Our resume is not all the information that a lot of sites ask for. They want past managers, they want how to contact them. Sometimes they want salaries. Sometimes they want the start, month, day, and year. So you need to keep that, because now a lot of companies, the first interview is filling out the application. And they're timed, and after a certain amount of time, they end. And so if you are not done, you lose all that information. And if you don't have access to Microsoft Documents, you can also always get a Google email and then use Google Docs and Google Forms and all those those Microsoft Google are also reflected in Google. And it's always a good idea to have an email specifically used for job hunting, because then you don't miss things. They don't get lost in all the garbage that our emails tend to get. If you have an email that you specifically use for job hunting and it's a professional email, it's not baba@gmail.com, princess@google.com. You also should have a professional voicemail. You should have your voicemail set up. I can't tell you how many times I've called people and it's not set up. You need to have a professional greeting on it, and you need to check it often, because you don't know if someone's going to call you. It's always good. And then, I've called people and it's been, "Hi there, sweetheart. I'm not available, but I will be soon. Please leave a message." "Hello, this is, please leave a message. I will get back to you within 24 hours, right? Something professional. So that question about contacting previous managers is something you should ask at your career force office, because every situation is different and they can give you very personal advice. All right, so what is a SMART goal? SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely, right? So what exactly do you want to do? You could say, I want to apply for jobs. Well, it's specific in the way that you want to apply for a job, but it's not measurable, right? There's no goal. So you might want to say, I'm going to apply for 5 jobs a week, right? So that's measurable. It's 5 jobs. Is it achievable, right? Do you know that you'd be able to find 5 jobs that you're interested in applying for? Can you do a quality application for 5 jobs, right? If I would have said 100 jobs a week, they wouldn't have been quality and they probably wouldn't be good fits. So that's not achievable, nor is it relevant, right? Just sending out applications isn't really applying for jobs, right? And is it timely? Can I complete the 5 jobs that I want to apply for in the week? But when you set goals, you should always set them so they're specific, measurable, achievable, and timely. All right, so I would like you to take the next 2 minutes and write down a SMART goal for the next week for your job hunting. And if you feel comfortable, put it in the chat. Okay, start now. What is a SMART goal that you can do in the next week to help you find a job? So research prospective companies, you might want to say research 5 prospective companies. So you have to have a time. So, network with 5 new people within the week or within the 2 weeks. So following up by going into local offices, that's not specific enough. What are you going to do? What the follow-up is? Right. Cool. You guys are getting it. All right. And it's important to maybe even write down your goals. If you're deciding not to do job hunting Saturday and Sunday, Friday before you turn everything off and move into into life without job hunting, you might want to write down 2 or 3 goals for the next week and put them with your job hunting stuff. Then on Monday, when you come to wherever you're set up to work, you can see those and you can remember. And it's a way to make sure you don't get distracted and you stay focused. One of the things that's really important is researching. Why do you think researching is important? Put in the chat why you think it's important to research when you're in the job search. Yep, to see if you're a good fit, to understand the company. It helps with your interviewing. Yep, the knowledge is important. Great, yep. A lot of you already said that job hunting isn't fun. And doing the research then will help you make sure that you don't likely have to do it again soon. You might have discovered from your previous job that you don't like working at a big company or you don't like working at a small company. Knowing that will help you focus your search. Should I only look in large companies or should I only look at small companies? Any research that you do about a company will help you Any research you do about companies will help you with the interview process. It will help you with your resume. It will help you with your cover letter, right? You also might want to know about locations. If are you interested in a virtual job? Are you interested in an in-person job? Do you want a hybrid? You might want to know about the financial situation and the potential growth. It's always a good thing to do. Yep, about relocate. It's always a good thing to do is to Google the company that you're thinking about applying for. Were they in the news? Did something good happen there? Something bad happen there? Are they are they a contributor to the community? Knowing the mission statement and the philosophy can help in an interview. You might get the question. So how many people out there who have had interviews have been asked, why do you want to work here? Say yes, yep. So you can see from the chat that it's a question that gets asked. If you know the mission statement and the philosophy, you can use that. You can roll that into your answer while you're highlighting your skills. A good answer is not, well, I know that I'll make this much money and I'll only work in the office 2 days a week and I'm really excited. And so I don't have to drive hard. Or you have great medical and other benefits. You want to always talk it about them, right? You might want to find out about their human resource policies. You should always check the website of any company that you're applying for. And general salaries that are paid, those two websites, ONET and Career One Stop, are a great place to research the range of salaries for positions via locations, because those things change. So here's another list of things where you can research. Press releases would be found on Google search, company website, libraries. LinkedIn is a good place. Glassdoor. You have to remember though, when you're doing Glassdoor, is that people are more likely to complain than they are to say something good. And so you might get a lot of bad things on Glassdoor, but that doesn't mean that that company is necessarily bad. That's where going to your network, trying to find people who work there or people who know the reputation of the company are good things to do. And then there's a networking card, which might be passe nowadays, but it also might be a good thing. You can put on the back some of your top skills. There are also apps that give you a virtual card that you can text to people. Cool. Great dialogue going on. Make sure you check the chat. You can get low cost cards at a couple websites. So it's worth investigating if you're interested in doing that. A lot of people are still into having something in their hand. It never hurts. It never hurts. And here's an example of putting the skills on the back. How many people out there have a networking card? Yes or no? Those of you who have it, why have you found it useful? Those of you who have one, why have you found it useful? Or how have you used it?
I'm just
Nobody.
saying no in the chat.
No, there were a few yeses. Can you read here? Can you read some of them, Lana, the yeses?
The last thing I'm seeing in the chat is someone talking about digital options.
Okay.
Digital
What's your,
options for networking.
what's your opinion of networking cards?
And somebody else put something about a biz card for networking. I think a networking card is essential, especially if you're attending a job fair or a networking event, or just going around. You can share out the networking card in a lot of places. And sometimes we forget to network with the people that we're doing business with when we go to the dentist's office, when we go to the grocery store, and things of that nature. So having those cards out there is great. Somebody's sharing in the chat right now that you can get 100 cards from Kinko's for $15. That's reasonable. There was the one, what was the one that everybody, we were sending them, they were doing them online, and if you go in, you come out, then they end up being free. I don't know if they still print. Instaprint used to give you
Yeah,
some
that's
free.
different.
I don't know if they still do that. But I think $15 is a fair price because to buy a box would cost you approximately $15, and then you got to utilize your own ink. So 15 is a good price.
Yeah,
I
and you
like that.
should make sure that it's a good quality paper. There's nothing like getting a cheesy, thin business card. They're supposed to be substantial. I don't know the apps. Has anyone out there used an app and can share that information? Just remember, none of this is an endorsement by the state of Minnesota. These are just options. Um, Nobody's used an app?
I think the apps are a little bit harder because then that other person has to also have a smartphone, and then they have to be willing to afford you the opportunity to share that or to send
Share
it to
the
their
app,
number.
right?
Whereby if you have a card, you can hand it to them. I mean, not like forcefully, but it's easier to share out, and you don't need
Right,
something from them to share it.
right. Yep. Cool. All right, great discussion. All right, a portfolio. How many of you have what you would consider a portfolio? Yes or no in the chat? Yeah, very old, you need to update it. All right, so what are some of the things for those of you who said yes? What is some of the stuff you have in your portfolio?
Okay, it looks like somebody said they have in their portfolio. Um, I'm sorry, somebody said something about Vistaprint. I'll come back to that. Resumes, web pages. So somebody said they have web pages, cover letters, recent references. And what else is in there? Case studies, which is good, recommendations, value I can offer, statements. And then somebody's asking the question if you're referring to the portfolio that are electronic or the portfolios that is
Yeah,
hard
and
copy.
it's both. It's both.
Both. Okay, so she said both.
Yeah. So you can have one or the
Oh.
other or both. It depends on the job you're applying for, right? Yeah, if you're in a graphic arts field, it's almost mandatory to have an electronic portfolio, right?
Yeah, so Sandra, somebody put in here that they don't find it helpful because it violates employers' priority
Right,
information, but we know that we're not giving out information from our previous employers. We're sharing out our work void private or protected information from our previous employers. So we know
right.
that already.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and mainly people think of portfolios for the arts, but it could be for everyone. Um, and it should include copies of your resume. A colleague of ours had applied for a job in the private company before she came to the state. She went for the in-person interview and they said, I'm sorry, we're going to have to reschedule. our system is down and nobody got to review your resume. And she said, oh, I have 5 copies. Will that help? Yep. So that it did. And she got the job because she was organized. She was able to be helpful, right? It was a lasting impression that got her the job. So you have your resume, copies of your resume, you have copies of your cover letter, you have copies of your references, but those are only handed out if asked for. And then you might have, if you're doing some kind of position where you have, it's a project manager, you might have an example of a project that you managed and how you set that up for success without the details of the project. Or if you created an awesome spreadsheet that really helped the company, you can have the basic bones of that. Yep, a draft brochure about yourself if you're going into a field that you need to. I've created a couple of websites. I might have the first couple pages of the website printed out with a QR code that you can scan to see the website. There are all kinds of things you can have. Somebody listed articles where they were mentioned about where the job that they had done. You might have letters of recommendation in there. It's never bad to be over prepared, but you don't want to bring a suitcase to an in-person interview, right? You just want something that's nice and professional in a briefcase or whatever. And online portfolios are awesome. They're a great way to show off many talents with in many different occupations. Anybody have any questions about a portfolio or what it could include or how it would relate to the type of jobs that they're applying for? So thinking about it, for those of you who do not have a portfolio, other than copies of your resume and cover letter and references, what's one thing that you would put in your portfolio? Not, doesn't count your resume, cover letter, or references or recommendations. What is one work sample type thing that you could put in a portfolio to show a prospective employer? And all of the writing samples would be great. Lesson plans, yep. Right, questions for interviews is good. Great, great examples. Achievements, yep. Sometimes some jobs want you to have certifications to prove that you have the knowledge for the job. And then it's good to have those certifications with you. They might make photocopies of them. But if there are specific certifications that are required for the job, I would bring a copy of the certification. All right, references. How many people have talked to people already about being a reference? Yes or no in the chat. All right, so when you talk about a goal, a SMART goal for the next week, those of you who said no should be able to find 3 people who could be references. You never ever use somebody as a reference that you haven't talked to, that you haven't asked, who is not specifically said, yes, I would do that. And you might want to avoid people who would be controversial. So who would be what type of reference would be controversial? Put in the chat. What kind of reference do you think would be controversial. So family and friends might or might not be, but what if you were friends or with a political figure who's in the news and is causing a lot of controversy? What if you could use as a reference a CEO for a company that just declared bankruptcy, right? Or a religious person, because there are questions that they're not allowed to ask you at your interview. Your faith, your age, your family situation. And so by giving the pastor or the rabbi or the imam of your religious community as a reference, that would give them information about you that they don't necessarily need to have. And then after your interview, you need to contact your references, right? If they ask you for references, then you need to go home and send your references, your cover letter, if you submitted one, your resume, the job posting, and some information about the interview so the reference knows what to address. You should always use references that can talk about the skills that are being used in the job, things that were in the job posting. I am also a teaching artist and I've been in multiple art exhibits. I would not use a gallery owner as a reference for a job that had to do with training, because the gallery owner knows me as a person and knows how I work with my art, but they don't know about my presentation skills. They would not be a good reference for that job. So you want to make sure that the reference can address what's important in the job posting or the job that you're applying for. And you always want to thank them. So a written reference prior to leaving a job would be more of a recommendation than a reference. When people are asking for references, they're going to be asking them specific questions that might or might not be addressed in the recommendation or the letter that was written previously. Any other questions about references or recommendations? One of the great things about LinkedIn, and quite a few hiring managers use them, is that there's that recommendation. It's different than endorsements. And it's in a way a mini pre-interview. They can read what people have taken the time to write about you. They can also see if you're a team member and a giver as well as a receiver. If you've written recommendations for people, they learn a lot, excuse me, about you also by the recommendations that you write. Check out your LinkedIn profile and make sure that you have current recommendations that you've given as well as received. So here we are, we're gonna do a checkpoint. You're recovering from job loss, right? You decided to face the challenge, the everyday challenge. Put in the chat, what is one of your everyday challenges in looking for a job? What is one of your everyday challenges in looking for a job? Put it in the chat. Quite a few of you have said about keeping focus. How many of you have family and friends who feel that you're not going into the office every day? You have time to help them. How many people get requests from family and friends that will take you away from your job search? Right. No, that's all about boundaries, and setting up a schedule and say, no, I can't meet for coffee because Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at from 9 to 12, I do job search. Yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling how many are submitted right away. You should attend the resume workshop. So, yep, you face a challenge every day and you have to face it with a positive attitude. You have to keep to your game plan. And that might be if you have whatever calendar you use, blocking off time slots. On Monday, I'm going to do this. On Tuesday, I'm going to do that. On Thursday, I'm going to do that. On Wednesday, I'm going to do that. Right? Develop your game plan. That's all part. Yep, looking for a job is a job. Part of developing your game plan is getting organized. And one of the ways you can develop your game plan and get organized is with SMART goals, right? And then doing research. There are some of us out there who could research forever and never get anything done because we need more information. So sometimes it's good to set up a deadline when you're going to stop your research and then gathering your tools, right? So the networking card, your portfolio, your references, your work samples, anything that you think would be helpful for a job search.